Hi guys, what's going on today? Sorry I was a little bit late, but yeah, computers, good times. Um, Unfortunately, I have literally zero plans for today. I have no idea what we're going to do. I just didn't manage to stream last week, so I wanted to make a point to be here at 10 o'clock today, but I didn't have time to prepare anything. So if at any point anyone has any ideas on what you'd like to do today, I am open to suggestions. I'm just making sure everything's running here. But now I have about an hour and a half, so there's a we could just have like a chill stream. We haven't done one of those in a little bit, with the exception of like the airbrush stream the other day. But yeah, what's going on? We could do firmware. I did see, like Aaron mentioned, they did release a new version of the firmware again, I think. Gustner asked how the stock bearings are doing. They work good. I know it's like controversial to say it, but I honestly think the prints look like 0.0001% better. I don't know if it's just like my imagination but they just look a tiny bit better. And like I said, it might just be like me imagining something, but they do look nice. There's nothing wrong with the default bearings, but they're noisy. Holy crap, they are definitely noisy. I actually didn't look at the newest version of the firmware. The last version that I looked at the release notes for was the one that enabled the M500 command to save the PID tunings. And I think this is a new one beyond that even. But we can actually pull them up here. Or try to. My big screen. I need another 1080p monitor. I have these secondary monitors are like 1280 by 1024. They were really good like I don't know, a decade ago. 3.0.1.0. A week old. So it might be the same one that I had looked at before. I wonder what the easiest way to find that is. I know they do their posts on the Facebook groups, but that might not be the easiest way to find it. Guess we can go to Prusa Research. But I know, like I said, I know in the last one they supposedly enabled the M500 because they had done that just before I did the PID tuning video, but I didn't actually get a chance to test it, so I didn't want to really comment much on that. So let me share the screen. This says it was from, don't laugh at me if I squint a lot. Where is it here? Bam. So here is firmware 3.0.1.10, and the date on that is February 18th, which actually isn't, I guess it's only like a few days ago. But I guess this is the same one I looked at because there's the PID tuning save to EEPROM enabled. We can try it. We can. The only problem is like the USB situation. I'll have to move the printer. Hopefully it'll reach, but we can try it. Because I'm curious what they actually like the stop print function fixed, because that worked before. I don't know if they just like tweaked it. I don't know. I guess we can do that. We can give that a go, everyone. But do you guys generally, like everyone in chat, do you generally keep your firmware updated? I usually make an effort to, but I'm usually like a little behind. It's just like this. I probably wouldn't have done this for another week or two. Oh, I see what Gusner's saying. It was released on GitHub. Yeah, they do. I guess that's what the Facebook posts are about. They release it on GitHub like a little bit earlier. Oh, some of you guys. I know, like, I'm still curious, is the wait really bad? I know I looked like 2 weeks ago and it had gone up again. Because there's always like a constant stream of like new people into like my channel. And like the ratio is like tipping slowly where I think most people have their machines at this point. But there's still quite an influx of like people still waiting. The severely skewed message is gone. What did they replace that with? Something less alarming for people. All right, so I'm gonna. Unfortunately, I do have to move the machine again. But luckily, it wasn't like at temp or anything. I already got her sorted out this morning after the print was finished overnight. All right, so hopefully that'll reach. I forget exactly how long this USB cable is. Luckily, the power cable's not an issue. This thing's like 18 feet long. Okay, maybe that's a minor exaggeration. It's not quite 18 feet long, but it's long. All right. So power. Okay. It didn't... I've talked about that before. Down here in the basement, whenever I have the machine like powered off, I tend to get that min temp error when I turn it back on, because the heat block will get under 15C, which seems to throw an error for some reason. So if nobody's ever done this, I think we're long enough here. I forget which type of USB cable this is. It's the big weird like square one. So I'll throw this into the computer. So that end is connected. Oh yeah, it actually reaches fine. So we're plugged into the machine. And I actually forget where I have this on my computer. Yes, I would love, Aaron, I would love a quick change extruder. That would be fantastic. I wish E3D would do like the V7 hot end and have like maybe like a cartridge based nozzles kind of system, as opposed to the one they have, because like every time I change my nozzle, like I'm kind of like cringing a little bit that I might be damaging something. So I'm downloading the firmware here. And then does it have the utility in here? It does not. Okay, so let me find the... Is the firmware utility included in the Prusa package that you install? I forget where that is. Yep, there it is. Okay, so this is a fairly simple process. Okay, so if you've went to Prusa 3D before their website and go to the software package, it's included in that. So here we have it's just called firmware updater, and this is the zip file with the firmware from the same site, like just under where you download the software package. So we'll put those in a folder. All right. And this is very similar to like Pronterface. You can rescan, and you see here I have 2 ports that are showing. If you need to find your printer, you can unplug the USB, rescan, and I think COM3 will go away. So that means our printer is on COM3. And then if I plug it in again and rescan, there you see we have COM3. So we select that. We need to choose our file, which is in our desktop. And let me drag this over here just so I can see it. And it looks like they have 2 versions. Is one of those a beta? What is the deal here, Prusa? What is the deal there? Which one do we need here? Yeah, like Aaron said, I think we need the 13A. So again, I gotta drag it over here so I can see. Okay, so it's the bottom one. So we'll select that one. And I believe that's it. You just select the right file in the COM port and hit update. And I don't know if we get a prompt on the printer. We can check it out. It doesn't appear to be doing anything yet. But usually it'll reset whenever it's finished. Because you see the little utility hasn't really done anything yet. Well, the utility says that it updated successfully. And our machine, I don't know if anybody caught that, but it did kind of like, you could hear it like reset, the steppers kind of reinitiated. That's not what we want. There's firmware 3.0.1. So let's power down and power up. I'm kind of curious, like what they changed with the stop print function, because I know that worked before. Kind of curious what they changed about it exactly. What are we doing here? But let's start a print just so I can stop it. I forget what that is, but let's give that a print. But alright, while we wait for that, has anybody been printing any cool stuff? I've still just been printing like dungeon tiles and a couple odds and ends for gaming. I haven't had much time to spend on like making anything. I'll probably do that Thursday. I'm gonna break the airbrush out again Thursday and try to get some more of my guys done. After like the last session, like I have a little bit more confidence using the airbrush. How do you say that? Pangolins? Yeah, I've seen everybody printing those. Those seem pretty cool. I know my daughter would like one of those. I'd like to make something. I've really had the kind of hankering to do that lately. To actually like make something that's articulating in some way. Because I have a roll of pink filament coming that I want to make some stuff for my daughter with, and like if anybody remembers when I was doing all the testing with the cable chains, like I made like a ton of those, and she still has a big string of like gray ones that she plays with on a regular basis. I should do a series on useful prints. Yeah, like I'm sure most of you guys follow the little like online 3D printing crew. Because I'm always like torn when everybody's like doing the same kind of videos. Like I feel like jumping on board and doing some of those too, but at the same time I'm like, but everybody else is doing it. But then I'm like, quit being such a freaking hipster. So I'm always torn. No, it's kind of funny which prints I've done that are the most practical. I know the one that I use the most, absolutely, is... I can't go that way now. There's a million wires. There's wires this way. I'm stuck. I'm pinned. Oh my god, there's so many wires over here, it's ridiculous. No, the prints, I do use this, but I'll talk about that in a second. The prints I use all the time, like 4 to 5 times a week, are these things. I use these things all the time. These are the polishable stainless steel kind of test things we did with the magnets embedded in them. I play that game called War Machine, and these are like tokens that you track things for different models with. I use these 4 to 5 times a week, every week, and they are freaking great. They are by far one of the most used prints that I have made. And same with some of the other ones. Because we did the rusted iron ones. I use these a lot too. For the same reasons. It's kind of funny to me that these are the ones that are magnetic. The rustable iron are actually magnetic. But they don't have magnets in them, so they're not actually magnetic. Like, they'll stick to things that have magnets in them, but these are the actual ones that are practically magnetic. But yeah, I use all these things all the time. All the damn time. All these metal tokens. And they have, like, that great feel. Love them. Use them all the time. And I still do use, like, a lot of these test tokens that I made, like, a long time ago when I first got those different diameter nozzles. Just because they work so well. They stack nice. But, yeah, by far the most used print that I've come up with. Because there are other things, like I have been using this this mech warrior dude lately as a stand-in for another model for that game. But this print's kind of ugly. Yeah, this print's kind of ugly because it had support material, like it was printed on its back, and there was tons of support material under here, and it didn't come off all that great. I know that camera is a little bit out of focus, but let me get it here. But yeah, this model's ugly because I've wanted to kind of like revisit this, but you can see the backside of that is really bad. I mean, well, it's bad to me. I know there are some people that would probably be fine with this, but to me, that back looks terrible. It's just really rough. It's hard to finish because there's so many angles and little crevices and stuff that you can't really get in there and sand it to fix it. And it's a shame because the front looks okay. You can see it's not super great. It's not great. This isn't like a print that I take to people and show them like, look how great 3D printing is. But I have been using it because it's about the right size and it looks like a giant robot, so it works out well. But so this print, I think this was just a test thing I was doing, because I was printing with the smaller nozzle. I think the 0.3 is on here right now. And I was just getting like these kind of crappy bumps on the surface of the top layers. Like this piece has wood grain on the top of it, and it just gets these weird kind of like blobby bumps on the top, even though the rest of it prints like fantastically. How much time do I have with the 0.25? I would say, if I had to guess, I wish the machine would actually, like, I know it doesn't really know when you've changed the nozzle, but I wish it would kind of track that. I would say probably 150 hours, maybe a little more than that. And actually, the only problems I've really had with it, or what I was just talking about, is sometimes on top layers, it seems like, and it kind of makes sense. I think the kind of back pressure in those smaller diameter nozzles gets kind of high, and like on some of those areas, like, you know, it'll slow down when it's on like little peaks and stuff. I think sometimes that back pressure becomes a problem because it's kind of like extruding more filament than it really should be. And it can give you some, I don't know if blobbing is the right word, but it had done it a little bit. If you remember the skeleton walls I had, it had done it a little bit on some of those things. Like on the nose area where it has that like hole in the skeleton's face. Sometimes it would have like a little teardrop blob on each one of those, but luckily I could just go back and like brush it and they would come off. But I was actually trying to address some of these problems with this test piece. I actually printed a bunch of them out. And it's crazy. It's crazy how much effect the extrusion multiplier has. Like, this was just bumping the extrusion multiplier down, like, to 0.98 or something, like, trivially smaller. And it just, like, ruined it. The infill gets, like, terrible. But I did improve it a little bit. I know it's really hard to see because, like, that nozzle's so fine and these pieces are small. But I'll try to get it to focus here. But you see, this is like a really small piece that has like wood grain on it. And this piece isn't too bad for it, but you can still see, like, focus. Like right here, there's a little bit of a blob and it's kind of flat. I know it's hard to see, but it's kind of like a flat little blob where it like over extruded a little bit when the nozzle paused there for a second. But beyond that, that's you know, more or less the only problems I really had with the 0.25, except for it being slow. And you can see in this piece, I kind of fixed it by making the retraction settings a little more aggressive. I think it helped prevent that that internal back pressure from getting quite as high. But it's still not perfect. I think I still need to spend some time tweaking it whenever I get an opportunity. But it's kind of like one of the best and worst things about 3D printing is that like the tweaking never ends. Because if you're into that, it's great. You're going to have something to occupy yourself with for long periods of time. Do I print hotter with the 0.25? I don't think so. That would probably be something worth testing because I think that would help with that back pressure too if it was just like a little more like liquid. Yes, and like I've really not had anyone comment on what that is exactly. If any of you have printed with like a 0.25, the 0.3 doesn't do it for some reason, but the 0.25 does. You get this like slow, steady, kind of like dull clicking sound coming from the extruder with that really fine nozzle. Because I'm hopefully, probably in the next week or two, I'm going to finally order the 0.15, and I'm kind of curious if it does it with that too. Dawn asked which would be better, the point. I assume you mean the 0.2 or the 0.3. In general, I would probably say the 0.3. I think it's the one that I print with the most now, because there is like a noticeable resolution improvement over the 0.4, but at the same time, it's not nearly as slow as like a 0.2 would be. Because the 0.2, especially with like thinner layer heights, you're going to notice the increased print time for sure. It is definitely going to slow your prints down a lot. And the 0.3 isn't quite as bad because you can still get a fair amount of like filament coming out. John said it's the extruder skipping steps. Oh, that could be the case. This print, this must be the one with the reduced extrusion multiplier, because this one looks like crap. The infill's kind of like not printing properly. It's probably worth. That makes sense, Joey and Jan. I think that definitely makes sense. Because I've often wondered if it would be worth recalibrating the. I had it pulled up. I actually kind of wanted to do it today, but I didn't feel prepared enough to do it. Was like 3D Hubs has a page about like recalibrating everything, like your extruder steps per millimeter and all that stuff. And the 0.3 seems fine, but like the 0.25, maybe it's worth like recalibrating that. Because reducing the extrusion multiplier doesn't have the desired effect. And I don't know if maybe just like telling the machine to like, you know, have fewer steps per like length of filament would help. Using a geared extruder. I don't think that's something we can easily do, though. Zapal, did you reinstall the dry lens? No, I did not. They're still the default linear bearings on here. And, like, you can tell they're not obnoxiously loud, especially with this. This print isn't too, like, crazy as far as, like, short, fast movements. You don't think the current setup would be able to handle the 0.15? I want to say that I've seen people use it, but I actually don't know that I have seen anybody use it successfully. Why did you take them off? I kind of talked about it in that video floor. Since I had a few hundred hours on the IGUS bushings, I wanted to put the linear bearings back on and print with them for a while and like see how I felt about the differences. Because when I did the IGUS bushing upgrade, I was still kind of like a total noob. I think I maybe only had 100 to maybe 150 hours of print time on the machine, which is essentially nothing in the grand scheme of things. So I just wanted to go back and I forget the exact like verbiage I used in that video, but I just wanted to go back and kind of like get a more comprehensive perspective on it. There we go. I guess we can go ahead and stop this. That was kind of the point. I don't know. That doesn't seem any different to me. Is there anything different there that you guys noticed? Isn't that just what it did before when it stopped to print? It just moved the y-axis forward and moved the extruder up a little bit. That wasn't sticking. I forgot to wipe my... Or maybe it was and it just bent because it's hot. But you can see this piece looks terrible. It's just like the one I was holding up. I think this has a reduced extrusion multiplier because I was trying to get rid of that blobbing and internal back pressure. And it did not have the desired effect. That's what the infill looks like. That's terrible. But yeah, I wish the patch notes would be a little more verbose. Because what the hell did they change? I don't understand what was different about that. What about the pause print? Oh, did they change that? I can go ahead and do... let's do one of the other files that I had on here for testing. While it's still hot. Because I know the pause print function as it was implemented before was essentially useless. Because it would just literally stop the print and the nozzle would sit there, and if you had any back pressure, it would sit there and kind of like make a little kind of mushroom blob on your print. So I actually never used the pause function. Because it kind of needs to like sort of do like it does when it stops. I mean, you don't necessarily need to move the y-axis out, but it needs to like raise the print head so that you can like not have blobs on your print and then clean it off of any oozing and stuff before you resume, since it's more than likely going to be sitting there at temp. Oh, I didn't know that was a thing, Joey. I've actually never heard of anybody having that problem. That is something that needs fixed. Yeah, that could be catastrophic depending on what you had actually sitting on the build plate. Yikes, that would freak me out for sure. But no, I'm glad I went back to the linear bearings to get some more perspective on it. Because I think I'm going to make a video this week. It probably won't be out this week. It'll probably be out next week. About like upgrades that I recommend people make that have just gotten their machines. Because my perspective, I think, has definitely changed on that over time. Like, I used to make a lot more recommendations than I probably should have been. I wish this thing was lower. It's like booms all over the place in here. Don't forget to press that like button. I always forget, like, I hate shilling stuff. I always forget to say that stuff. Joey, that is actually exactly what I wanted to do today. But like I said, I was kind of running behind, and then it got even worse when I went to start and my computer kind of froze. Because no, I've never done that. If nobody noticed Joey's comment, he was talking about calibrating the steps per millimeter, so that when basically the firmware or your G-code tells the printer to like extrude a certain length of filament, that it actually extrudes exactly that length of filament. I've never done that, and I probably should, and I would have liked to have done that today, but the process is a little involved. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to take... Do you have to actually remove the hot end? Like, I've seen different ways of doing it, but like the one on the 3D Hubs site, from what I understand, you disconnect your hot end from your machine and then just like have the extruder feed filament out. Or do you just like tell it to extrude that and then measure the length coming out of the actual hot end? Oh, I see what you're saying. I guess you could mark it up here and then just like note how much is pulled in the machine. Yeah, Veli. Like, I still have mixed feelings about the IGUS bushings. If you do have them, I am kind of a fan of putting them in the x-axis. I have absolutely zero like hesitations with putting them in there. The tolerance is good. Like, if I would grab this whole like extruder assembly, there's no like wobble or wiggle or any problems at all, and it definitely reduces the noise. But like in the y-axis, like I have essentially zero wiggle in my bed now, and I did have a little bit of wiggle in my bed, like if you've seen that video, and it just slowly got like a little worse and a little worse and a little worse over time, and it finally got to the point where I was like concerned that it was not ruining prints. I mean, it was definitely not anything crazy like that, but I don't know. I'm picky, so if I thought there was like a chance of improving things, even like a trivial amount, like I'm willing to do some fiddling, especially if like other people can get some info out of it. Banash, is it on high power mode? I assume you're asking. Yeah, it is. Actually never run in low power mode. Did I print the noise dampening legs? I do have some of the kind of like springy ones. Like this style. They're the ones that are like two pieces. Like these, where you know, you print them out flat like this, and then they kind of nest inside of each other. These do, like, if you're really just, like, desperate to reduce your noise, I think these are, like, a reasonable quick fix. But, like, in the long term for me, they will allow your machine to wobble a bit. Especially if you do any taller prints and, like, you have your extruder up here, like, moving quickly. You will notice that the machine wobbles a bit, and it can cause you some, like, minor, like Zapal said, it can cause you some, like, minor artifacts in your prints. Which, I don't know, everybody's standards are kind of different for, like, what they're expecting out of their prints. So, yeah. Like I said, if you're in a pinch, because, like, me at first, the machine definitely got less noisy over time with the default bearings. I don't know if they just like, I don't know. But I did notice it got a little less noisy after I had maybe 50 plus hours on it. But I was still, like, my wife was not happy when I ran the printer at night and stuff because we could hear it up in our room. But yeah, I think for a starting point to reduce noise, they're not bad. But over time, if you get like a little picky about, you know, getting your prints as nice as you possibly can, you'll probably find yourself in the same boat that many of us are in, where we just kind of quit using them to prevent that wobble. Because the machine is like, it's got this nice wide stance, but at the same time, the actual footprint is small. Like, I think it's only 9 inches across or whatever on the base here. But like Marcellus just said, that he has the bearing mounts, no wobble in the bed. I mean, I guess in hindsight, I could have eliminated. I honestly never really thought about it. I could have eliminated some of the wobble by like moving the smooth rod out just a tiny bit on one side, while still like making sure they're parallel still, but just like basically spreading the width of the y-axis a tiny little bit. I probably could have reduced a little bit of that wobble. So it's possible it was only there in the first place because, you know, I didn't have my smooth rods adjusted quite as well as I could have. But no, that's why I always hesitate. Like, I hate to like shroud everything in like terms that make me seem uncertain, but like, I'm by no means an expert. That's why, like, I try to, I don't know. Your mileage will always vary depending on exactly what you do and how well you are at, like, calibrating your machine and stuff. Like, I'm still not the best. I try my best, but there's so many things that you can change and tweak that I always hesitate to make, like, firm statements about what people should or shouldn't do. So, but now I will be going back to the IGUS bushings here before long. I did get I haven't used it yet, but I did get a relatively inexpensive decibel meter because I want to do some testing, comparing like the linear bearings and stuff. I want to like purposely find, like I said, this print isn't too bad, but some prints, I'm sure you've experienced that already. Some prints are noisier than others. Like, if you, I think the worst for me was the small, like, it was about 30% infill with the honeycomb pattern on a big flat piece, and it was just like, ugh. So I want to do some tests with prints and, like, find kind of the loudest printing circumstances, and then do some testing with the linear bearings versus, like, the IGUS bushings, and then just do, like, a short video on it with some actual, like, decibel numbers. Which even that, it's not perfect because, like, this isn't very loud right now as far as decibels, I don't think. But those low frequency sounds kind of, like, travel through the floor of my house pretty unperturbed. Rodder asked, have you tried my suggestion on the automatic? I do read comments. Was that the one where you were saying about having separate files on the SD card and then just referencing the files from the G code? Is that the one you're talking about, Rodder? Oh, definitely, K-Bear. I mean, like, I like to put information out there to help people, but at the same time, like, I want everyone to know that you should probably get multiple multiple perspectives on things before you make a decision, especially if it's something. Some things are easier to undo than others. So, I mean, it's the case with anything. You should definitely get as many perspectives on something as you possibly can and then come to your own conclusions instead of taking like one person as an authority and just doing whatever they say. Oh, yeah, Rodder, I did see that. I didn't get a chance to test it. It seems like kind of a novel approach. Like, I do like the idea because that way you could basically group your files by the settings that you want, and then if you want to tweak those, you could go in and tweak those sub-files, which would adjust basically all of the G-code associated with them instead of having to go back and like reslice everything, which would be nice. Like, I think of situations with, like, the dungeon tiles and stuff where I'm just, like, printing hundreds of these things. And if at some point I would, you know, basically improve my settings, it would allow you to kind of go back and tweak it in a more sensible way. It's actually a shame we can't do more settings like that instead of having to, like, reslice everything. Have I tried printing miniatures? I actually have done a few. Hopefully I don't yank any cables out here. I'll just bring the whole thing so I don't have to make another trip. I haven't done a lot, but I've done a bunch of things in that scale. One of my favorites are these barrels. These barrels are pretty damn sweet. But they're about the size of a 28 millimeter. Well, they're for the right scale, approximately. But they came out really clean. I think that's with the 0.3. This isn't even the 0.25. And they came out really well. But if anyone saw that one stream, we did print out the Mitopian mushroom dudes, which again are about 28 millimeters, and they look fine to me. I wish they were ABS so we could do a little bit of smoothing on them, but overall, no, they came out pretty good. Little mushroom people. And there's a bunch of them. There's like more regular dudes that don't have weapons. They just have like little gun hand kind of things. But I think that's the closest thing I've done to actually being like a 28 millimeter miniature. But I've done a lot of prints at that scale. I think this to date is the highest resolution print I've done. This was with the 0.25 millimeter nozzle at a 50 micron layer height, and this thing, I know it's not like perfect on camera, but this thing is pretty damn perfect in person, because like the ribbing on those vases are actually like part of the print. Those aren't like layer lines or anything. These turned out really, really great in my opinion. They're so freaking smooth. But no, these are probably the highest resolution prints I've done so far. These are like jug groupings. But no, lots of the other prints have come out good. Like I know some of you guys have been waiting for a dungeon video in a while. Like, I do have some of these videos coming out soon. It really kind of jammed me up whenever I had those computer problems after I had like a lot of the videos. I had like 3 videos done. And it was harder to go back and redo them than I thought it would have been. But like this has like kind of like fluting and stuff on the face of that, and it came out like really clean. I know it's a little hard to see, but no, stuff has been good. And then one of my favorites, the old bone walls for the dungeon stuff. Like, I love these things. They look sweet. But these were the ones where I was saying there's, like, I see one right there. where there was a little bit of blobbing. And it's just on their noses for some reason. Like on the noses of some of the skulls, there was a tiny little blob of PLA that was left there that is pretty easy to go back and rub off, but it was there. And then here's a piece where you can actually see that blobbing fairly well. The peaks, these are supposed to be like little bones in the floor, and you can see there's little blobs there, and they're actually kind of easy to get off. I don't have a blade here. If you see, they actually separate from the print relatively easily. But it actually takes a little bit more than just the blob off. There's another one. And it's only on these raised areas where the print like really slows down. And I fixed it a little bit by increasing like the retraction settings. Luckily on these prints, it's not like super crucial, because these are floor tiles. Like there isn't a lot of attention drawn to these. But like there's a pretty big one. Like that's supposed to be a nice like rounded kind of like bone shape, and instead it's got like this flat kind of squished out sort of blob. It almost looks like the nozzle had completely stopped there, and then like that back pressure extruded out a little bit more. But yeah, just paint the blobs as mold. How long did the 50 micron print take? Longer than I like to admit. It was pretty bad. It really was pretty bad. We forgot to pause this print. I was sitting here running my mouth. I'll start it again really quick and pause it just to see how it goes. Because I am kind of interested to see if that's maybe like a usable function now, instead of being like a death to your print. I would say that grouping of 50 micron stuff was like, it was comically long. Like maybe 16 or 18 hours, something like that. It was pretty crazy, because it was only, I think that it was only 4 of these things. I think there was 2 other little pieces that were approximately the same size, and it was like I said, I think it was like 16 or 18 hours. Because if you've ever noticed that, like, Simplify kind of miscalculates print times, it is way off with the finer nozzles. It is way, way off. Because I think it was saying that this print was supposed to take like 12 hours. And like I say, I think it was like 17 or 18. So yeah, it gets further and further off on its time calculations when you use the finer nozzles. Maybe I was printing too fast. I don't think that was the problem, Paul, because especially on those things, like I printed them, they might even have been like that floor section. I think that was below stock speeds. That might have been at like 35 millimeters a second. Are you worried about breaking the extruder? I mean, if anybody knows me, I'm always worried about breaking anything. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen. I haven't noticed any, like, there was the clicking, which must have been, like someone mentioned before, it must have been the extruder motor maybe skipping steps. But I haven't had any issues so far with, like the actual teeth skipping. Oh no, you're not scaring me. I'm always kind of scared as far as that stuff's concerned. Because, like, as long as it's not anything crazy, I shouldn't have a problem, like, paying for replacements. But, yeah, if I do something nasty, I don't want my machine to be down for a few weeks while I try to, like, round up cash to buy replacement stuff. K-Bear ordered the 0.25mm nozzle and the silicone socks. Slow quality prints, here I come. It is exciting. I remember the first prints I did with the smaller nozzle. It's noticeable. It's definitely noticeable. You won't really notice a lot of difference. It is kind of funny where you notice the difference. The actual layer lines will not be any different for the most part. You won't really see any marked improvement there. But any detail on like the other axes, you will notice. And it is kind of significant. You worried about breaking things? Let's Dremel this. I haven't actually taken the Dremel to the machine yet. I guess I'm going to retract that yet. I'm not going to take the Dremel to the machine. Damn it. Damn it. I should have cleaned the nozzle before we started that print. There's a little bit of stringing there. But no, hopefully, because I know a lot more people do have the smaller diameter nozzles than when the MK2 first came out. So I would like to find some fixes to some of the issues that people are having with it, because it would be beneficial to everyone, including myself. So I'd like to set some time aside in the near future and do some testing with it. Vince, was that in reply to someone or just like a general statement? Because yeah, the color change for the G code works well-ish. If you've seen any of the older videos, like I kind of had a complaint about how it will do, like you said, it'll take the extruder over to the corner of the bed and kind of park it, and then cue the color change. I don't know how it works on the DaVinci, but the Prusa makes an obnoxious beep sound. The only thing I don't like about it is after it loads the new color and like repurges, as it's moving back, it squirts out a little bit more filament, and I've had it ruin prints before. Thanks for stopping by, Logical. Good luck at work. Yeah, I don't know if you're actually still here, but if you can justify the cost, there are very few people who aren't satisfied with their MK2. I mean, with anything that's produced in volume, there are going to be people that just kind of fate frowns on you, and you know, you might get a bad piece of hardware in your kit or something, but for the most part, the MK2 customer service is not bad as long as they're not swamped. I know they do have some bad days. But yeah, like Zapal, if everything goes as it should with the color print, like after it purges the old color out, it should stick to the bed a little bit, and then when it puts out that little squirt as it moves back to the print, it should all stay connected and pull off. But like sometimes it hasn't for me, and it ends up dragging like that little half-inch to 1-inch piece of new extrusion over onto the print and kind of attaching it to it, and it just ruins it. But let's pause this, see what it does. Oh, that's not good. See, this is what... Yep, it did it. I can see it already. It just pauses the hot end exactly where it was, and any of that back pressure kind of like slowly releases. So we've got like a little squish spot. Yeah, now there's like this, I'll go ahead and stop it. There's really no point in continuing this. Yeah, but it does the same thing. And it's not subtle. It's really not subtle. Let me switch cameras. You can see. I mean, you can see as plain as freaking day. That's where it paused. And it stops the hot end right wherever it happens to be in the print. And then you can see, like, any little bit of back pressure you have in the nozzle slowly oozes filament out and gives you this big blob. And then you can actually see the next point it went to was this corner. And it still had a little bit of blobbing. So it sort of, like, screwed that up, too. But, yeah, it's not good. It's one of the reasons I've never used the pause function. I guess if you're on the infill of a print, you could potentially get away with it. Like, we might be able to actually be okay here. Probably not. I mean, given how thick that is, there's a good chance the nozzle will catch that when it comes back over this area. And it might just, like, since this piece is small, it might just, like, knock this piece loose off the heat bed. But, yeah, like Carl, I agree. I wish it would work a little bit more like the color change, where it would actually, like, bring the nozzle over to the bed. I guess if you were ambitious, you could kind of, like, modify the G-code to do that, or the firmware. But, no, it's kind of unfortunate that they didn't change that in a meaningful way. Because, like, I know people, I've seen people before that have used, like, it doesn't work if you need to pause a print, like, arbitrarily, like, if you just need to out of the blue stop, like, pause your machine. But if there's a place in the print that you know you want to stop, like, if you watch the video when we were putting magnets in these little tokens, we actually used that color change G-code prompt for a pause function, because it actually stopped where we wanted it to and then moved the hot end out of the way and gave us access to the print. You can add a more robust pause via Octoprint. I actually know almost nothing about Octoprint, so that's kind of cool. Is it Veli? I feel like I need to squint more. Veli? I was the same way when I first started looking at printers. I was one of those guys. I don't know if you're a member of any of the like the Facebook printing groups, but people kind of cringe when new members come in and are like, "What's the best printer for $300?" There's actually, like, memes and stuff about it. But I was the same way. I wanted to spend the least amount of money possible and get the best printer I could for the money. And it didn't take me long, like, watching, like, not reviews necessarily. Reviews can be, they can be the best or the worst, depending on the circumstances. And I watched reviews, and I didn't really feel like I was any better informed. I felt like I knew more about that person's personal preferences. But it was actually watching videos, I would say kind of like this, but, like, I don't want to, like, claim that I pioneered anything, but when I was looking 6 months ago, I wasn't aware of anybody that actually, like, just streamed printing stuff. I think Tom did a little bit, and I know there's guys, like, I don't want to take credit for anything. Like, I know there's guys that do streaming similar to what I do now that I've done it for a little while. But it was actually watching videos of guys having to do maintenance and stuff on their machines that made me feel like I was a little more informed about what I wanted out of a 3D printer. Because some people had so many problems with certain kits and stuff. And then, like, I watched people, because back then the MK2 was very new, but there were people with, like, the MK1s and stuff that were really happy with them for the most part. And there was a few videos, I think that was right before, like, Tom's review of the MK2 had come out. And then his review came out while I was still in the process of, like, searching for a printer. And it definitely influenced me. Yeah, I have mixed feelings about some of those initial reviews. Like I personally liked Angus's review better. I think it was a little more even keeled instead of just like basically doing cartwheels and wearing party hats about the MK2. Like some of the reviews that were first coming out about it. Because I think it's a great machine, but it does influence people. Like it definitely influenced me. It definitely influenced me because I was just like expecting. I was expecting the machine to just like shit rainbows when I first got it, which it kind of did. It kind of did, to be fair. But yeah, reviews are a weird thing. Watch a lot of them. Don't watch one. Go watch a lot of them. Try to Octoprint. Yeah, I'd like to get. I need to branch out. I've been a little pressed for time lately, for a number of reasons, but double rainbows. No, I can't talk shit about the MK2. The prints that I did off of the SD card that came with it were fantastic. They make you feel like you're the greatest at 3D printing. Like even though you're doing nothing but pushing some buttons. But like going into some of the 3D printing groups and looking at prints that people were proud of, and then looking at the prints that I was making off of my freshly assembled machine was kind of amazing. If it doesn't shit rainbows, you'll blame me. I'm sorry if it doesn't, Bob. But did you get a kit or a pre-assembled machine, or do you already have it, or are you still waiting? Yeah, Chris, no, I agree. Compared to a lot of printers, this thing does shit rainbows. I mean, that's probably the easiest way to describe it. It is an amazing little machine. Oh, you got a pre-assembled? Uh, yeah, it's sweet. I'm sure you'll love it. Especially the pre-assembled. People don't seem to have too many problems with those. The kit is so dependent on what your like technical skill set is, because I like like anything, there's a lot of things that people can do wrong themselves, and like you hate to blame people, but some of it is just people doing stuff wrong. Like I did some things wrong. Uh, like my like axes were all kind of wonky when I first did the kit. I had some issues with a couple different spots, like the back corner connecting to the power supply and other stuff. It was my fault. It was my fault. But some people are quick to like jump on some of these forums and stuff and start like talking shit about the company, and they don't want to like acknowledge that they might have potentially done something that's less than ideal. Chris, I've not watched a whole lot on the Up Mini, but I've definitely, the little bit I have watched, there are very, very mixed feelings in the community about them. Like some guys seem to love them, and some guys are like, I wouldn't wipe my ass with this thing. It's why because like I like to be honest about everything. I actually did not have the money to buy this machine. I really genuinely didn't. Uh, I my purchase was definitely influenced by me getting approved for my PayPal credit card just before that. Like literally 48 hours before I ordered the Prusa. Like I already knew I kind of wanted the Prusa, but yeah, like just before that I got approved for my PayPal credit card because I'd never tried before. And I was like, shit, I have this like little credit card. I'll like impulse purchase time. But I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad that I didn't get one of the like super inexpensive kits like I was kind of leaning towards, just because it was what I could afford at the time without using credit or anything. But I really haven't. I wanted to do a video on it, but I think I had this, it's been a little while now, but I think I've had this for not all that long. I think since November. I forget when the first video was when I did the assembly. But if you stay busy with a machine like this, like I have officially paid for my printer by using my printer. I'd like to do a video because it is something that like people ask kind of frequently, is like, how can I make money with my printer? It's a hard question to answer. You have to be a little ambitious and a little creative and have a decent work ethic to keep at it, which I've really been failing on lately. But I think it was at like the 3.5 or 4 month mark that I officially, including like the cost of filament and everything to do the jobs, I officially paid for my MK2 with my MK2. So it is officially costing me nothing now. It was essentially free at this point. But little stupid stuff like this, like these little tokens and stuff. If you can come up with things like this that kind of like fill a need in a community, it's not really that hard to make money. It's just hard to find those little... my cousin and I were discussing this. Is it niche? Feel those little niches? We were arguing about how to pronounce that word. Yeah, you guys talking about USB. I've actually never done a single print tethered. It just seems like a potential nightmare to me. Computers, like my computer runs fantastically 99.9% of the time. And then like today, right as I started to stream, it froze. So like some of the prints, I would have been a sad little guy if like, because this isn't even that long, like a 17-hour print. But yeah, if you're like most of the way through a print and it dies, it's going to get you right in the feels. Yeah, Gustner's definitely, I mean, Gustner pretty much nailed it. It's just like the unique kind of combination of features paired with the price point of the MK2 that makes it like so great. And then adding on top that, yeah, that the assembly process is not very bad. I mean, I am kind of like a nerdy, technically minded kind of guy, so it wasn't too bad, but I don't imagine the average person would have too much trouble if you go about it kind of methodically, a little more methodically than I probably did. But mine actually didn't ship with an instruction manual like for the assembly. But if you use the online instructions, it's I think, is that what Gustner said? The parts per step. Yeah, the steps are so incredibly small during the assembly. Like some of them are literally like inserting washers into a spot so that they're there for the next step. They definitely do a fantastic job of holding your hand through the assembly process. And some of the other assembly videos I've seen for different printers, they couldn't be worse. I mean, it's not even that they're bad. It's that like I would struggle to see how you could do it worse. Like beyond just throwing all the parts in like a bag and handing it to someone. Like some of the instructions are really, really bad. See, and that's why I say like mileage varies from person to person, because there's Mac Vision saying that he's never printed from the SD card, which is like the polar opposite of the situation I'm in. So yeah, different strokes for different folks. No, I'll have an Octoprint set up this year. I don't know exactly when it is. I'd prefer it to be sooner than later, just because like with most things, I'm interested to mess with it. But I guess it's like a personal preference thing. Like I just never did tethered from the get-go because it just never kind of appealed to me, so I never even bothered like trying to do it. Let me get that out of the way. But what time is it? We have like another 25 minutes or so. I guess we'll just continue chatting unless somebody else wants to do something else. Oh, explosion! I dropped all my cool tokens. But no, there's definitely, I know it's kind of going back, but there's definitely ways to make money with your printer if you kind of work towards that. Because I know for some people that can help justify the cost. You know, like say you're in the market for like a $300 printer, but you have, you know, the potential to make, you know, yourself $300 or $400 in the first few months that you have your printer if you kind of work towards it. It can kind of help justify paying a little bit more for a nicer printer than getting something that you might be like fiddling with indefinitely. Chris, that's something we've discussed in the past, kind of just in chat, kind of casually. I'm really anxious to see. I'm anxious to see what the multi-material upgrade ends up being like. I know it's definitely going to slow prints down. I don't know if anybody's released any like official print times. Like when that one sample print they have that looks like, I don't know what it is. It reminds me of like a tambourine or something. If you guys have seen any of the advertising for that. I can't imagine how long that print took. To do 4 color changes for every layer. Oh my god. That's got to be slow. That's got to be slow. Because I've kind of talked about it before. The one thing, like, when I get mine, I'll probably do some like novelty prints in different colors and stuff just to test it out. But long term, I can't really see, especially 4-color. I can't really see doing like many 4-color prints. I can see some applications for like 2 and in like a pinch, like a 3-color print. For doing, like, I have some guys that want me to make keychains and stuff, which I can already do with color changing, but no, who said that? Floor just said that. The thing that I will probably be using it for a lot is PVA supports. Like prints like this little guy, where, you know, it's pretty much an okay print with the exception of the horrendous area in the back where the supports kind of weren't coming apart as nicely as they should have and kind of ruined some of the areas. Because Angus, if anybody hasn't seen that video yet, Angus over at Maker's Muse did a pretty fantastic video. I think he called it like a master class in support material. He just did the other day. Like, I personally definitely learned a lot from that, and I'd like to try to do a print like this again, applying some of the like advice and stuff that he had in that video. But it's definitely worth watching if nobody's watched it yet, because there isn't a whole lot of good information about support material out there. If you like anything, if you scour the internet, you can find some of it. But Angus's video is a nice little like kind of condensed resource. Chris asked, you'd rather paint than print in color for your dungeon stuff? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I'd prefer, I mean, you could do it, because like I don't know where all my stuff is. Some of the stuff you could get away without painting, I don't know, but I don't know. I like painting stuff. I'm slowly getting better at it. Like, I've been painting more miniatures, and I've recently got the airbrush and stuff, which I haven't printed any terrain with, but I'm pretty pumped, because that opens up like whole new realms of possibilities. But some of the videos, like Floor, some of the videos I'm going to do with the terrain stuff is going to be focusing on painting things for people who hate painting. Because if you get like decent results with painting, has a lot to do with like knowing the right tricks. And if you know the right tricks, there are some really like low effort techniques that you can use to get fairly good results without like spending a ton of time like painting stuff. So I'm definitely aware of guys like you out there, and I want to try to help you out because even if you do like some half-ass painting for the most part, I think for things like the dungeon stuff, it's not true of everything, but like for those dungeon tiles, I think they look better even with some half-ass painting than just being like a single color. But no, some friends and I, every Friday we've been doing like paint nights where we get together and kind of we don't play the game or anything. We just sit and paint our miniatures together. That's why I've been drinking more than I have in a long time, because we drink every Friday. We'd sit here and drink beer and paint minis. But because if nobody's seen it, I want to show it off. Damn it! I'm crossing the cables again. It's worth it. It looks a little crappy on the webcam compared to like in person. I think it looks great in person. But I'm so like pumped. I always kind of liked painting, but I was never all that good at it. Cuz like here's the yeah, the colors just look so not great on this. That looks a little better. But this is like from my first session with the airbrush. And like I need to go back and paint like a bunch of other stuff. So like just these big plates will remain this orange. But I'm so pumped to like finish painting this guy. Cause like the army I have has a bunch of these like big robot guys. And they're gonna look freaking sweet like that. And then like just like the regular, like this guy's probably only about 40% done. I can't tell if that's in focus or not. He's about 40% done. He's got a lot of work left to do on him. But no, the paint nights have been like incredibly beneficial. It's kind of like lit a fire under my ass to actually get some painting done again, which is a good thing. Because if you've ever played any like tabletop war games, it's kind of like what I was saying with the terrain. If you have all your stuff painted, even like poorly, it looks so much cooler on the table than if you're just like lining up a bunch of dudes like this. I don't know, even this guy, like if I would never do anything else to him, he's going to look cooler on the table than just things being like a solid color. Hey, what's up, Geek Moto? You could pop up that image I had on Twitter. Yeah, I do have that on my desktop. It's still kind of like, I don't know. It's tough to get colors to look right. But yeah, that's the picture I had on Twitter. It looks alright on there. I don't know. It's hit or miss with things on the internet and color registration and kind of looking like it does in actuality. But no, I discussed that before. Because I'm still open to opinions. I got like a lot of like kind of jokey suggestions, but I really do want like a large ongoing project. Like I have the dungeon stuff, but that's not, to me, that's not like a large project. That's like it sounds dumb to say, but that's like a big, small project. Like I need to decide something to do that's big. Like print this guy out that's like 18 inches tall or something. And actually like paint him up and airbrush him and try to make it look like as sweet as possible. Or like a big gun from Overwatch or something like that. I don't know. Because I'm so sick of seeing people do all this cool stuff and I'm not doing any cool stuff. I'm like doing all this little stuff. Like there's so much cool stuff like in the cosplay world that people do. And like I'm not into cosplay, but some of the stuff that people are making is just like amazing. Like, I'm not into, like, I like Star Wars and stuff, but I'm not into, like, dressing up like a clone trooper or anything, but it'd be cool to do something like that. Just to have the experience. A full-scale Terminator, that's definitely a big project. I don't know if I'm up for something that big. Let's start a little smaller than that, and then move up. But I can't. I'm so indecisive when it comes to things like that because it's going to be like such a long time investment. But something, I want to do something. I would like to do, like, maybe it will just end up being something like that. Like, not this chassis. This is a Marauder from MechWarrior Online. I could print the one chassis that I play the most when I play that game. But it'd be cool to do it in, like, I don't know, 18 or 24 inches tall. Because, like, I know, like, Angus and a couple other guys have done tutorials on how to, like, rip the 3D files directly from the games and then break them up into pieces to print them out larger. And I need some experience doing that. I haven't done any of that stuff yet. Iron Man mask. That's another one of those things, Thunder. Like, I think they look great. That's super cool, but just like on a personal level, I don't really have that much interest. I mean, I'll drool at stuff that other people make. Something with moving parts. Well, that's the thing. Like, if I would do this guy big, I would do everything in my power to make him as articulable as possible. At the very least, I would make like the torso and stuff twist. But ideally, like, make his legs posable, because I know there's some people that have broken these files down. A remote controlled robot would be sweet. Yeah, God bless CryEngine. It is kind of like shockingly simple. Because I've also thought too, like there are some like older games I play, and it would be, to me, it would be so cool to rip some of the 3D files from some like older, like genuinely old games and do big prints of them and finish them, because I haven't seen many people do that. I've seen, I wouldn't say a ton, but I've seen quite a few guys that have done like things like this, like they've done mechs and stuff from other modern games. Like somebody mentioned World of Tanks. Love that game. But like what's a game? I keep thinking of games that don't actually have 3D models. Like I was going to say Doom at first, but they're actually 2D sprites. Yeah, like from Quake. Like some of those, they're bad. They're kind of bad 3D models. If anyone's ever seen the game, let me pull some pictures of it. Evil Genius. I've always loved that game, and it has kind of like a cool art style. Let me find a good picture here. But I love this game, and it would be cool because the models are actually kind of like really low resolution. But it's got kind of like that I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Where's OBS? Get to a part where they zoom in here. It's got that kind of like 50s, 60s, James Bondy, spy, kind of pulpy kind of vibe to it. And it's like a base building game. You can see of like all these minions, and you build your base and control them and stuff. And it's got like a cool aesthetic that I've always loved. And it'd be cool to do like some of those guys, maybe not huge, but 4 or 5 inches tall, and do some of the different like minions and stuff. Like these are the guards, the orange guys, and then like all your henchmen are the yellow dudes. But some of the animations and stuff from this game, are so funny. I doubt I can find any. But some of the animations are so freaking hilarious. I give up. I give up. I have to make some clips of that sometime, because I've talked about it before, and it'd be nice to have like something to show people. But like you can capture and torture people to get information out of them, and some of the animations for it are hilarious. And then there's super agents that are kind of like Austin Power-esque characters that you actually can't kill. You can capture them and torture them for information and stuff, but then they just basically like go away. and come back later, that you can't actually like kill them. But some of those, like the one guy you have to put in the giant mixer in the kitchen and spin him around, and just like weird stuff like that. Like all of the kind of like super evil genius kind of world-ending technologies and stuff you can usually use to like torture the guys. It's kind of funny, but it'd be cool to do something like that. Some old stuff. Printed my kids a fully functional vending machine. I wonder if it's the same one. I know. I can't remember the name. I feel terrible. Joseph. That's usually in here. I know he was working on one. I don't know if it's actually finished, but those are pretty cool. I've had a lot of experience with vending machines. My dad owns an arcade, and he has like an arcade route on top of that. But yeah, like Quake, something like that. I don't know. I need to settle on something and start working on it. Something that's like big enough that it might take, a month or two to finish. Kind of like a cool, like ongoing project to have would be sweet. But I don't know. Like I said, I know I'm rambling, but I'm open to suggestions. It probably, like if I had to guess, it probably will end up being something like the MechWarrior thing. Because I know there's that one site, I can't remember the name of it, that actually has some of these files that are broken down into like many, many pieces so you can make it like articulate and stuff. But I kind of feel weird. I think someone like, I think Angus did a video on them recently. And I'm kind of like, I think it was the power armor. If anyone's seen the power armor from Fallout 4, it had like the rack and the armor and stuff. I don't know. Like, is that stuff legal? I don't know, because they're actually just like selling the model files from a game, and I don't know if they're like licensed or anything. But yeah, I'm just curious. Well, that'd be cool, Warboy. I mean, hell, if you could hook me up with an articulating MechWarrior file set, I mean, that might just solve the entire dilemma. But yeah, it's kind of questionable to me, because I would love to have the files, because they did do a really good job of breaking them down. Like you can actually buy, like if you've ever seen the game, you can change all the weapons. Like there's all these hard points, and you can put different weapons on the mechs and stuff. And they actually sell like the different like loadout sets where it has all the little weapon bits that you can change out and stuff. Yeah, it would be sweet to have, but I think like the chassis are about $30 a piece, and then the add-on kind of things are about $15 for like the whole set. And they just sell them. I can't remember the name of it though. Wish I could remember the name, because their site isn't all that big. Let me see. I'll see if I can find Angus's video, because it wasn't that long ago that he did the video. Is it Game Body? I think it is Game Body. I found Angus's video here. I think this is it. I'll just show you guys. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, this is it. And I don't know. It seems, I mean, I could be wrong, and these could be licensed, but here they are. It's Game Body, and they're freaking great. Like, here is the same chassis that I have, this little orange one. And you can see, like, this is the set where you have, like, all the different weapon add-ons and stuff. And they are, like, that's $15. And then, like, I guess here is the base chassis set. And, like, I know you can pull the files out of the game yourself, but it's a bit of work to actually break it down like this. It is, that's why, like, I'm kind of torn. It would be nice to have these, just because, like, your end product would be really nice, because you could break it down into so many parts, and you could kind of justify, like, printing them, like, really nice and slow at high resolution. But these are, they're modified, but they're still direct rips. Like Angus even discussed it in his video, where they do some like smoothing on the models and stuff, but then there's some areas where they didn't. And if you compare it to like a direct rip of the game assets, it is the same file. But some of these would be great, like a freaking Mad Cat. Who wouldn't like to print out like a giant Mad Cat at high resolution with like articulating parts and high detail, and have the legs be all posable and all that stuff? It'd be sweet. But I've never seen any evidence on here that these are like officially licensed or anything. So it kind of feels weird. I think if they were licensed, I wouldn't really have that much problem justifying the $30. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't have as much of an issue like coming up with the money just to be able to print like a nice, really nice version. But yeah. That's why I was kind of like I love Angus, but I was kind of surprised that he did a video on them, because it seems to not even really be a gray area. It seems to be like kind of a black and white thing where it's like, no, you're ripping game assets and selling them. But I don't know. I think they did provide them to him for free, I think was kind of what happened there. But yeah, not only selling them, but $30 is kind of not cheap, really, for a file. Like if I compare that to some of the companies that I've bought, like some of the dungeon stuff from, some of those companies give you a lot of really nice original content for $30. Like I think the dungeon tile set, like these badass bone walls and stuff that we were looking at earlier, I think the set for these, it's like a bunch of these walls, and you can get some of the floors and stuff. I think even those are like quite a bit less than $30, and they pretty obviously like made all these files themselves, and it's like their own like interlocking system and all kinds of stuff. Same with like the all the cool like furniture and stuff. Those were quite a bit less than $30 for those sets. Yeah, and like Logan said, he did have a little bit of trouble like getting them to print right. Especially, I don't think the Mech Warrior parts will be that bad because they're broken down into such like nice chunks. But like if I remember correctly, the big rack and stuff that the power armor hangs from, I think that was all one piece, and he had some troubles with that. But no, I'd be interested. I don't think he really commented in that video on like the legality of it. I'd be interested to like hear his opinion on it. But no, I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of torn. I'd like to have it. But yeah, it kind of feels bad because I do like the game, and I do support it. Like I've bought stuff. It has like microtransactions, and I've bought stuff over the years. And like I feel like I'm kind of like doing something dirty by giving them $30 for Mech Warrior files. But no, I gotta decide on something. Like I said, it'll probably just be that. Was it Warboy? Yeah, I mean Warboy. If you want to like mess with some files and send them to me, I'll gladly check them out. Maybe print something out. No, I agree, Warboy. If you're just doing it for your own like amusement and stuff, I don't think there's anything illegal. In fact, I'm not really a big part of the community anymore, but I used to be kind of like part of the Mech Warrior community years ago when the game was like newer. There are a few streamers on Twitch that I used to like watch and hang out with that now kind of like work. They don't work directly for the company that does that game, but they kind of work as what do you call that? Like consultants that work for them. And like those guys, like I remember talking to him about printing a big one out, and he said if he ever did, like they would gladly put it on like the front page of their website and stuff for a little while if it ended up being cool. So they, for the most part, are kind of I I don't know if encouraging is the right word, but they definitely kind of like support people doing cool projects like that because it's good exposure for the game. But yeah, I mean, definitely Zapal, if you own it, it's fine for personal use. Uh, yeah, definitely. That's why I should like rip some files and do it myself to get some experience doing it, because it might not be as hard as I'm thinking it is to actually break them down into nice chunks and stuff. But like in the few videos I watched where Angus was doing it, it looked a little fiddly, especially with some of these because it's so tough to get in some of these places to have like the correct like vertexes, is that the right word? The correct vertexes and stuff selected to actually do like your slicing. So, I mean, they definitely did do some work to get them broke down to that level. But, yeah, it's still not their stuff. So, yeah, I feel dirty. Yeah, gentlemen, if you do a search for, like, I don't know what the exact terms would be, like rip game files to STLs. I don't know. I can just link you Angus's video because he has some pretty decent tutorials on it. Why don't I do that? Let me find his video really quick. Learn to type, noob. Like here, I don't think this is like his definitive tutorial or anything, but if you're interested in like getting a start, there's a good video. That was a stream that Angus did where he was taking some files from Fallout 4, and there's not that many steps, and it's not really that difficult. It can be a little picky, but basically with a little bit of work, you can take literally any 3D file and turn it into an STL. With a little bit of effort, because there's so many utilities and stuff for converting one thing to another format, to another format, to another format. Even some really old stuff, like if that's why it'd be cool to do some like the Quake models that are really that old blocky kind of like I don't know, it's not 16-bit, but that old blocky 3D style. I think with a little bit of effort you could convert those too. You'd probably just have to like convert it from whatever archaic 3D format it's in to something a little more modern, and then take that more modern thing into like an STL and then repair it and do a little bit of work. But no, it's cool to do. We need to do a stream sometime where we mess with it. Maybe we'll do that next Tuesday. I'll try to like feel the basics out a little bit, and maybe we'll do Quake. Maybe that would be a good, because everybody, I mean, not everybody, but most people know what Quake is. Yeah, give it a go, man. It's always something you could do before you have your machine too. You could have some files ready, because everybody has access to like Slicer and stuff. Because if you're going to use the MK2, you can go ahead and go to Prusa Research and get the kind of like driver package and stuff and have it installed already. And yeah, you can you could be ready for it, because you could like try to get the models ready, like following some of the tutorials and stuff, and then pull them into the slicer and see how they load up. But no, I agree, Warboy. Those old models, just old 3D models in general, it's like 10% model, 90% texture to get the overall like appearance of stuff. But no, you're right, Dickie Bird. Quake would be super legal because they have a GPL. But like any of these games, I own copies of. Oh, I know. I mean, it's a lot of it's mech stuff, but like Star Siege and Earth Siege, They have really clunky looking models. Like Star Sieges aren't that bad, and they have some cool chassis. I think they called them Hercs, actually, not mechs. I need like a 4th monitor. It's like crazy that 3 ends up not being enough. But yeah, there's some of the Star Siege stuff. Like they do have some cool mechs. I mean, some of those aren't the actual like in-game files. Those are some of the what do I want to say? Cinematics. But like there's an in-game shot. Like some of those are cool. Like that's one of the kind of starter mechs. There's the Gorgon. They're not too bad. Oh, is that somebody printed out? Oh, that's cool. Or maybe that's like a model. Or maybe that's paper. It's crazy to me that some people do... Like there's a mech from Star Siege. That looks like one of the actual 3D files. And you can see they're really blocky. But I think with some time with like the airbrush and stuff, we could still make it look nice. But they're not bad. I just think it'd be hilarious to have some of these like... old school models and do 3D prints of them. Do a project making a drone. I should. There's so much stuff. It's one of the great things about having a 3D printer is you can do basically anything you care to spend time doing. It is pretty fantastic. I do love it. It's kind of overwhelming at times. It's just like now, like you sit here and like, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want to do this. And it just makes you want to own like 4 more printers so you can just like do it all. So you can just have like stuff printing all the time. Print all the things. Print the world. But, well, I guess that's it for today, guys. We're just sitting here rambling. If you, I mean, unless anybody had any questions, I guess we'll kind of end it here. Like I said, I will stream Thursday, but that will be... I want to break the airbrush out again because I haven't had a chance to since I did this. I haven't touched it again. And I want to break the airbrush out again. And I'm going to do... Because it's going to go a lot faster this time. I learned a lot of things on this guy. I learned a whole lot about airbrushing on this dude. So I'm going to try to paint another like 2 or 3 of these guys, which should be pretty quick. I'm thinking that'll take 20 or 30 minutes to knock some of them out. And then after that, I'll probably do some of the dungeon pieces just to do some tests on it. So if anybody's interested in seeing like, because I didn't 3D print these guys, but we will try airbrushing some of the stuff I've 3D printed if anybody is interested in that, if anybody's on the fence. Because I know a couple people have messaged me now that I did that video that they were kind of on the fence about buying an airbrush. And they're still kind of on the fence. They want to know if there's enough things you can do with it with 3D prints to justify spending the money on it. But in the little bit of experimenting I did with it, it seems like I'm going to get a lot of use out of it as long as I don't break it or do anything stupid. But it seems cool. It seems like the more I watch tutorials and stuff, like there's so much stuff you can do with it. How's the dungeon game work? Well, the dungeon stuff is just kind of, it's made for like 25 to 28 millimeter miniatures, like kind of like guys like this that I showed you. Where is OBS? Like this dude. That's not it. That's not it. Clicking everything. Like... These aren't the right pieces together, but it'll give you an idea. Like, so like there's a floor section and a wall section, and you can see they're kind of sized to fit miniatures. Like this guy's has a bigger base than a normal 25 millimeter guy, but you can see they're kind of like sized for miniatures about this size for doing like whatever game you want to play, like D&D or like I'm still working on kind of like a system that's conglomeration of games for my own purposes. Like you see I have the stack of guides over here that I've been using as my reference material I have the ones for Daggerfall, Skyrim, Oblivion, and Morrowind that I've been kind of like using to piece together a tabletop role-playing game for a campaign that I want to do that's going to take place in the Elder Scrolls universe. But it's whatever you want to use it for, really. It's fun stuff. I did a lot of it. I played a lot of D&D in high school and then didn't play for a decade or two. And I've always kind of wanted to play again, but then like getting access to this stuff with like a 3D printer has really like made me want to play some stuff again, because it is fun with the right group of people. It's not fun with everybody, but with the right group of people, tabletop role-playing games are a blast. Because I've still played like tabletop war games a lot in the interim, but I've just recently got hooked back up with some guys that I used to play stuff a decade ago with, and yeah, I'm excited to play again. I just didn't want to play D&D. Nothing against D&D, but it's not the most exciting thing to me. There's a lot of other cool games out and about now. Like I know guys that play like the Star Wars role-playing game. I won't sit here and list, but there's a lot of games out there. Did you see the first scene of episode 1 of Stranger Things? You mean the first season? Yeah, I watched the shit out of Stranger Things. I thought that show was amazing. I actually, like, I've talked about it a little bit before. I have run an eBay store. It's like my primary source of income. And the Demogorgon figure, they were selling, it's an old Grenadier, was a miniature manufacturer. Those figures were selling for like over $200 for a while, because a lot of people in the States weren't aware that the company that made those in like the mid 80s actually sold all the original molds to a company in Italy. And I was actually shipping them in from Italy and reselling them. Like, I think I was paying like $10 a piece for them, and they were selling for like 160. I mean, they slowly came down, but no, I loved Stranger Things for a number of reasons. I thought it was a great show, because I'm pumped for the new season to come out soon-ish, hopefully. But yeah, they played that, like the kind of like subtle overarching premise of that was like the kids were playing D&D and stuff, because they kept like making references. Like that's why they referred to the Demogorgon and stuff as like the little guy, because that was a figure from D&D. But no, cool show. If you never checked out Stranger Things, it's a cool show. If you grew up in the 80s, you'll probably love it. And like Stranger Things, if you've ever listened to the soundtrack, it got me into like synthwave music again, like pretty hardcore. Like I know when it first came out, like I was listening to nothing but synthwave for like a few weeks. It's pretty relaxing stuff. Chris asked what state I'm in. I'm in Pennsylvania. I'm in like southern Pennsylvania. Did I have problems with humidity and filaments? Yes, I did. Those were some of the first videos I ever did on the channel, was like running. Those were the first problems I really had with the MK2, was because it was before winter had really set in, and my basement is really damp. And I was having some problems with like that hissing and popping stuff, because I wasn't keeping my filament sealed, which I don't actually keep it all sealed now. I do some of it, because some of it's a little more sensitive to moisture than others. But yeah, I have had problems with moisture. And the solution has been to run the dehumidifier down here a lot more than we had been before. Because before we were just running it enough to keep like mold from growing on anything. Because if you keep your relative humidity below like a certain point, you won't have problems with mold. But I've had to be a lot more aggressive with it. And it's not as bad in the winter. Just in general, the humidity isn't as high. But it won't be too long here. Like spring and stuff will be coming around. And probably have to be a little more wary of that as the temperature gets a little higher. Right now, Aaron, the relative humidity is at 45%. But it creeps up. It always creeps up a little bit, because I have to turn the dehumidifier off while I'm streaming, because it's loud. But unfortunately, it runs almost 24/7 to keep it that low. So it will be interesting to see how much of a battle it is to fight this summer when the humidity is a lot higher. You keep yours at 30%. I don't know that I can even get it that low down here with the dehumidifier we have. And ours is kind of big. I don't know. It's not the biggest ever, but it's not like a super little cheap one. But I think I'd struggle to get it down to 30%. I think it's normally right around 40. But it's not too bad. If you go back, like, those videos are not the best. They were when I was just starting, but I used, well, I still have them sitting here. Like, I use these containers. They're just like food containers that fit. Ooh. They stack nice and they fit 1 kilogram rolls of filament like really well. And I just keep like little desiccant packs that I also got at Walmart. If you look at, I think Tom Sandlatter did a video on like making like a bigger tub to keep a bunch of filament in, and you just buy like those I forget what they're called, those desiccant pellets like off of Amazon. You can buy them by the pound. You just like line the bottom because they don't have dust in them. Yeah, Icicle, like 50 to 60% is where you'll start like potentially having issues with mold and stuff. It's also nice if you keep it really low. Like if you can actually keep it at like 30%, silica gel, that's right, Klaus. If you can keep your humidity really, really low, you won't even have spiders or anything in your basement because they can't survive if the humidity is too low. They actually like, they have trouble holding moisture inside their bodies. So if the moisture content is really low, they'll just kind of like dry out and die. Added benefit. But yeah, it's not too, if you do have problems with humidity, like back when I was having issues, if you're just kind of like conscious of it and stay on top of things, it's not that bad to deal with. You just have to kind of be like methodical, because it's easy to like break those habits without really thinking about it. Because like this filament's been on the machine for, I don't know, 4 or 5 days now, sitting out. And yeah, if you have really high humidity, you'll have to cycle through several rolls. So you're like, even if you're actively printing with it, that way it's not like sitting out and being exposed too much. But yeah, there's like anything involved with this. There's a lot of conflicting information. Like some guys will swear up and down that PLA is unaffected by moisture. And then I had problems with moisture, and like I could see like artifacts in prints before, and then like I dried my rolls out and they went away, but there's guys that still claim moisture wasn't my problem. So yeah, you just kind of like gotta, like I said before, you gotta take in as many perspectives on things as you can and kind of come to your own conclusions. And if there's people that still like argue with you and bicker about it, you just kind of gotta ignore them at a certain point, unfortunately. Because no matter what you do, there's going to be somebody that's not pleased with your decisions. I found that out pretty quickly doing stuff on YouTube here. But like I still think it's kind of funny like how controversial some of my videos have been, and it's not stuff you'd really have expected to be controversial. I thought it was worth mentioning because I had talked about that in the nozzle seasoning video, that I never had much luck with oilers. Like people use these filters and put oil on them, and I don't put oil on them. I just use it as a dust filter. I'll try to remember and come back and link that in the description. But there was a guy that has a relatively small channel that did some objective testing with using an oiler and like the effect it has on your layer adhesion. And I think he did a really nice video, and he did kind of prove that using an oiler will reduce the overall strength of your prints if that's something that matters to you. Like if you're printing stuff like this, it's not really an issue. But if you're printing anything that's like structural, he did kind of definitively show that using an oiler will kind of reduce your interlayer adhesion and reduce the strength of your prints. But like I said, I'll try to make a note of that and come back and add the link to that and stuff in the video. Because guy did nice videos. He's kind of like me, except his videos are better. how like he has a small channel and you watch his stuff and you're like, man, the production quality and stuff is like fantastic. How does this guy only have like X amount of views and subs and stuff? It's crazy. Yeah, Warboy, you're right. He did say that it used to be something you used to have to do. Do I have noise issues with the filter? No, it doesn't really. Like I get what you're saying with retraction. Like you might get like because it's gonna move and stuff. But no, I don't have any issues with it. It doesn't really make any noise. The linear bearings make more noise than it does. I think if the machine wasn't making any other noise, you'd probably hear that little bit of tapping. But like I still haven't done the Noctura fan upgrade and stuff, which is coming soon. CNC Kitchen, that's right, Jan. Yeah, I thought it was a good video. I thought he did like a pretty good job on that. But no, the fan makes more noise than any of that stuff does, so you can't really hear it, even if it is making noise. But no, that's why I said, like, I personally have not had any luck using an oiler. It always seemed to cause more problems. I could never seem to get... I just could not... Words are hard. I always had too much oil. I couldn't... Like, even when I would put, like, a minuscule amount of oil in the filter, it just... There was too much oil, and I could, like, see it on the heat plate, and it would cause adhesion problems and stuff. That's why, like, for me, especially with the 0.25 millimeter nozzle, it seemed to help. Again, there's guys that, like, dispute it, but the nozzle seasoning seemed to help with my 0.25 millimeter nozzle. So it seems to be, like, a happy medium between, like, kind of, like, seasoning the metal with some oil, but then not actively putting oil into the system. But... made a crack noise. I don't know. I haven't had any problems with it. I did have to modify this one. The default design, there's this little tab that just has like a friction fit. Because I've had people ask about it. I need to do a little video. I just took a piece of electrical tape and wrapped it around that side, and it it increased the friction enough that it actually holds itself shut nicely. But no, these are handy to have. Like you said, there are different designs, but I mean, whatever you feel comfortable with, I think it is worth having a dust filter on there. Because like the airbrush, I was underestimating how much particulate the airbrush puts in the air, but like I did notice over there where I was airbrushing, it was kind of dusty. So definitely going to be making sure I use my dust filter like 24/7 now. Boogie still looking for the ultimate bearings. Yeah, like I said, I'm still kind of indecisive about the IGUS bushings. I don't have any problems with them. Like I said, I mean, just to go over quick, they're not really necessary in your Z-axis, in my opinion. You just have so little movement there, and there's nothing wrong with the linear bearings. I mean, they're a little tough to get in and out of this piece here because it's such a tight friction fit. So, like, unless you really feel the need to, I wouldn't worry about those. In the X-axis, they seem fine. Like, I have no problems with the ones I have in there. But on the Y-axis, I don't know. If noise is an absolute game ender for you, put them in. If you can tolerate the noise that these default linear bearings work, if you can tolerate the noise the default linear bearings make, I would just stick with them. They work great. Just make sure they're lubricated. But like some people, there's so much like misinformation, and some of it's not that there's actively been misinformation put out. It's just like some people like perceive things the wrong way. Because if you're thinking that the IGUS bushings are going to somehow improve your performance or something, that's not the case. It's like I said at the beginning of this stream. Like, I think it might be a minuscule difference, but I think my prints look slightly better with the original linear bearings in here. Because I've printed wall sections out, and it's all the same filament. same machine with the exception of the y-axis bushing / bearings being changed. And the ones that I've printed last with the original bearings in seem to be a little bit cleaner prints. But I don't know. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell without doing like some actual testing. But yeah, I mean, if the noise, because the noise was like a deal breaker with me. I mean, if the noise is like an absolute deal breaker, I mean, go ahead and do it. Especially if you're not going to use the bearing holders. Like I have the printed holders instead of the zip ties, because with the zip ties, they're actually pretty quick to change. Recommend lubricating. If you can justify the cost, the best stuff is called Super Lube. I think that's the name of it. I don't know if this is the exact stuff, but this brand is one of the absolute best. There's this stuff called Super Lube, and I think this is it. It's like the PTFE multi-purpose grease, and it's kind of expensive. That's actually a lower price than I had seen when I was looking for it before. It's a little bit pricey, but if you can justify the cost, like that stuff's pretty good. I've just used this. Several people recommended it to me. It's just multi-purpose PTFE lubricant, and it's in this. I know it looks kind of like blue in there, but it's kind of like a teal container, and it's the 3-in-1 brand multi-purpose PTFE lubricant. And this stuff works really good. I've actually used it for a bunch of stuff. We had some squeaky doors upstairs that I had used like some graphite, like dry lube on, and it doesn't last all that long. And I cleaned them off the other night and put that stuff on, and they're like utterly silent. But yeah, this stuff's cheap. So if you don't want to like spend whatever you can find Super Lube for, it's good. I think the Super Lube is a little bit better because it's a little bit thicker. This stuff is very almost like watery. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Super Lube helps with the noise a little bit just by like even like a tiny amount, like restraining the movement of the bearing balls. I wouldn't be surprised if that helps with the noise like a tiny little bit just by like keeping those balls from resonating so much. But I don't know that for a fact, so don't take that as gospel. Do you use lube on all the axes? Do not use it on the axes that you have the IGUS bushings on. They do not need lubricated. Yeah, they claim that they don't need lubricated at all. You could. I've been considering like experimenting with like some dry graphite, like a dry lubricant, because I think you could probably use that with those. I don't know. I probably won't do it, but yeah, with like the PTFE, if you have any of the axes with the bearings on them, not the bushings, the bearings, you do want to keep those lubricated. Definitely going to help you out there. But yeah, I don't know, Mr. M. Rubio. I don't know if it does reduce the sound. It would just kind of make sense to me that it would a tiny little bit. It might be like trivial. But yeah, like Warboy just said, you'll have less of that grinding and scraping sound, but that like actual resonant sound, I don't think it's going to reduce much. Yeah, the graphite powder is messy, but it is a pretty good lubricant if you get the super fine stuff. I've seen guys that have used, they make stuff for lubricating like locks, and it's like the bigger, flakier kind of graphite. You don't want that. You don't want that. But all right, guys, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. As always, like thanks everybody for coming and hanging out. Like I mentioned, I'll be streaming Thursday, but it'll probably be like painting, finishing prints kind of thing. And hopefully I'll have a video coming out Thursday too. Maybe 2 if editing goes well. I've been trying to get caught back up. I've been like really lax on videos lately. but I've got a lot of stuff in the works, so hopefully I can get it finished in a reasonable amount of time. And then, like I said, I do have I did get a cheap decibel meter off of Amazon, so hopefully in the near future we'll do some objective testing on noise levels and stuff to compare like the IGUS bushings to the linear bearings and stuff, and try to get some actual numbers for that. Because I know it doesn't take a scientist to know that these are louder than the IGUS bushings, but it'd be interesting to see like what the actual numbers are. So keep an eye out for that. Check your email. You'll send me the Mad Cat later on. Hell yeah, I'm down for that, Warboy. I'll definitely check it out. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. Thanks to everybody that supports me on Patreon. It's fantastic. Again, like there's some videos in the works. I definitely have some cool things coming up in the near future that I wouldn't have been able to do without the little bit of extra like monetary support on Patreon. So I really, really, really do appreciate that. Don't ever have to do it, but if you feel the need, feel free. But we'll see you guys Thursday. I hope everybody is having fun printing stuff. So we'll see you next time. Thanks.